Hello, everybody. It's time for another episode of the Horror Appraisal. I'm Sam.
And I'm Evan.
Today we got a really special rant for you. It's not quite such a special film, but it's a special rant. Go. What is it?
We're going to talk about the film, the new release that's been making a little bit of a fuss in the horror scene. We're talking about the film Oculus.
Have a Coke, friends. It's such a.
We're not getting any money from that.
The film was interesting to me when it was on previews, and when I saw like the trailers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Oculus looks kind of cool, but I think part of that was because it rode on the success of some of these other movies that came out. You know, Insidious 2, and you have what's the other one?
Insidious?
Insidious.
Insidious.
But you also have the other possession thing. That
Conjuring.
The Conjuring.
Yeah.
You have that came out, and you have some success from those. And the trailer for Oculus came out, and it kind of played on the same thing. You could tell that the trailer, after watching this, that the trailer was geared to get those people into the theater to see the movie.
Yeah, I'll admit, when I saw a trailer for it, I felt a little intrigued too. But I was able to hold off, and we just watched this film. It's recently been released this week or last week or something, right?
Last week, yes.
Okay. The thing is about this movie, firstly, it's produced by kind of a weird company. It's
the first thing you notice on the credits.
Yeah, and there's never any answer to it. So if someone can figure this out or post a comment, this film was produced by WWE Films. I don't know what.
And you did find out why.
Yeah, something like they've used the mirror in like for like a prop or something, but there's got to be a deeper reason than that.
Didn't Triple H?
No, they just put a reference in it, like the family that owned it was like his family or something. But it's just really stupid. First of all, you're already taking a horror movie and making it really lame by being produced by Worldwide or Wrestling. You can't. It's not WWF anymore. It's WWE. I don't even know what it stands for. Whatever. It's produced by wrestling. Vince McMahon produced this movie.
Anyway.
And I don't know why. It's stupid.
Moving into the movie. A child, you meet this boy, and he killed his dad, and he got locked up in an insane asylum. And today's the day he's getting out. He's finally seeing the error. He's finally seeing that he was really the culprit of all this stuff. And he was, 10 years old when this happened?
Yeah. And now Sister Karen, played by Karen Gillan of Doctor Who fame, she's come back to him after he's been released. She's like, okay, well, we're gonna kill this evil mirror that like made us kill our parents. I don't really care about the story of this movie.
She's like, you have to live up to the promise. We have to destroy this mirror once and for all. I work for an auction company, and we got the mirror through our auction company, and now I'm getting the mirror.
I don't even care.
I'm gonna go take it for repair. I've got the mirror in my house now.
The plot of the movie is so freaking convoluted. Like, I just don't care. Like, I don't even hardly remember the story of this movie, and we watched it 12 minutes ago. Here's what I want to say about the movie. I'm looking for things good to kind of say about it. I like horror films that have just sort of I want a horror film, a good one, that has a more understated vibe these days. We've had some success in that with building tension with movies like House of the Devil, The Innkeepers.
Perfect examples.
Yeah.
Innkeepers blew it at the end, but otherwise a very great slow burn.
But, and that's kind of what I was hoping maybe this movie would be. But it just wasn't.
It went crazy for the whole second half of the film.
Well, what I kind of want to say about the movie, I want to talk about a couple things I liked. And you know what? I don't really want to do any spoilers for this movie for people who want to see it. I just want to say like how the movie left me feeling. But two things I kind of wanted to say about the movie was, as far as a visual standpoint, I do kind of like the apparitions with the silver, being like the mirror reflection of the eyes. It actually reminded me of a film from the 80s. And a lot of people haven't really heard of this movie because they're more familiar with the remake that came out, a decade or more ago. And that is, it was a film directed by Michael Mann called Manhunter, and it was based on the book Red Dragon. And there's a point where the detective is going through the house, and he is able to look into the mind of the killer to see what they see. And the killer's placed pieces of glass in the victim's eyes, and like he goes into one of the rooms and he sees like one of the victims. They raise up and look at him with these ghostly like mirrored eyes. That's an image I saw as a little kid, and that's always stayed with me. So I kind of like that in this movie. The first thing it reminded me of was Manhunter, and that's really visually all I really kind of liked about this movie.
Well, I want to say this movie does less of a the mirror itself. You kind of from the trailer you get the idea that the mirror is a gateway for some paranormal being that is going to stalk a family and cause it, a lot of discomfort and harm and stuff, kind of like a regular demonic possession haunting type thing. But what ends up happening with this movie is it ends up being more about a confusing timeline screwy thing, and it's more like a mind movie than it is. And honestly, this movie isn't scary to me. It's scary. It has enough tension to be a good suspense film, but it's not a suspense film. It's a horror film, and it should be scary.
Yeah,
especially if it sells itself like it does.
Well, trying to look into finding the good in some stuff, and maybe I'm just looking into it too deep. The whole movie, a central theme of it is not trusting what you're perceiving at the time. And we use all these, and the character in the film does the same thing. She uses all of these perception filters to show what reality really is. All the cameras,
safeguards,
lots of use of cell phones and things like that. And really, it ends up in the film. You can't even really trust those. I don't know if this was intended, but I think it's an allegory of, 20 years ago when we were kids and stuff. We look at so many things now through these filters that we're using to record what is happening or view it through a filter,
through a looking glass.
Sure. And I almost wonder if maybe they intended it to be an allegory of not to trust that, to be able to look at something without putting any kind of perception filter in front of it, and being able to trust what you see that way, because technology kind of betrays them in this movie.
I kind of wish they hadn't meant that way. I would have liked to have just seen a horror film.
Yeah, I know. Instead of some kind of
if that's what they were going for.
Yeah. I think that's going to be lost on some people. I think sitting there, I was so bored. I was trying to invent something deeper to look into.
They use a lot of. One thing I don't like is with this kid, they use a lot of cliche things, like basically the hospital kind of erased what really happened in his memory, and he comes out spitting all these cliched psychological terms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in psychology. I understand what he's saying. A lot of people these days, everybody's so fucked up that most people understand these sayings because they've had to do the research and they've been in therapy and people know what's up.
Or they've watched crime dramas on television.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to go that route was really cheesy. I feel like...
It just wasn't, it didn't feel like a well thought out movie. I miss, and I know, and there are examples of these. I miss a classy horror film. So now granted, I'm not going to have a lot of face on this because I love Hatchet. I love gory stuff. But I miss a cerebral kind of thinking person's horror film sometimes, where you build the suspense.
Yes.
And, not everything is... You turn around a corner, there's a monster going, or some kind of creepy, even if it's some kind of a creepy visual, whether it be, something in makeup or anything else, a ghost that's really dirty and it's just, we don't need that all the time. If you want to do that, go to a freaking haunted house at an amusement park.
I have to say, this film showed a lot of promise, and even halfway through, you're kind of like, okay, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I was too.
But then, they start with the timeline thing, and you're like, okay, it's a little confusing, but I still understand where I am. By the end of the movie, you do not understand what is reality, where you're at, and it's fine to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But when it takes you out of the movie, it doesn't become an immersive experience anymore.
I didn't enjoy the film because of that. I understand that's what we're doing because we as the audience are watching these events happen. So it should, of course, be a little confusing to us too. That's the point. You want your audience to kind of question what they're seeing and everything, but man, it just got annoying. Instead, it didn't feel artsy. It felt annoying and thrown together.
Now, you haven't seen Absentia. This is basically Absentia in a house with a mirror. But Absentia was more clear on what was happening. Mm-hmm. That was a perfect... Basically, it's a tunnel, and people go in the tunnel and don't come out, but then they come out years later. It's kind of like they disappear into this other world.
Okay.
But it's confusing like this, but you get it. It's not I think budget got in the way, and the director was like, I can do so many crazy shots with this movie. We're going to do 500 shots, and and it's just going to confuse the hell out of everybody.
I'll be honest with you. I thought at first, I was going to be watching something that was more of kind of a ghost story. Like I said, I've been really kind of wanting very kind of just creepy movies that kind of stay with me, that I think about more, something more cerebral. Not necessarily, like I said, we review our share of just fun slashers, but sometimes I really just like that kind of film. Films like we were talking about Shadow of the Vampire from 2000 earlier this week. I think that's probably one of the most classy horror movies that's ever been made.
I do want to ask you,
sure,
if you have a favorite moment in this film that when you still thought it had promise, that you have a favorite moment.
Not really. I mean,
I had a moment that stood out to me
because I mean, the problem is, all I remember about the movie, especially with like its abrupt ending, was, I mean, I'm not left with like if I had a good piece of bread before my steak came.
It's kind of like watching Butterfly Effect, really.
If you say so. I don't remember that, and my steak sucked. I don't really care how good that piece of bread was.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say that what this movie could have been was what happened in the beginning. And there's a scene where she looks in the mirror and sees figures underneath white sheets, like white mover sheets.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
that built suspense.
It's so subtly done that it's creepy. That moment pulled me into the movie and made me a little bit scared, because what is scarier than looking in a mirror and you kind of see something moving in it behind you, but you turn around and it's regular. So the mirror, I've always felt like a mirror has been kind of a gateway kind of thing, and this movie had the potential to really act on that, and it just dropped the ball.
I mean, I think it had the potential to work on a scary idea that
Prince of Darkness used the mirror perfectly.
Oh, trust me, yeah. That's a John Carpenter film from the 80s. You guys should check out Prince of Darkness. We should just spend this whole time talking about movies you should see other than Oculus.
Forgo this. But I won't say forgo this. Those of you, I will say this. Those of you that must see Oculus, do not pay for it.
No.
I paid $20 for the Blu-ray.
Oh, you did? Oh, why'd you do that?
I don't know. I'm a sucker, and like I said, the trailer tricked me.
Hey man, I kind of wanted to see it.
She tricked me.
I kind of wanted to see it from the trailer too, but I knew you were going to buy it, so I knew I'd get to watch it for free. So,
anyway, I think that kind of wraps it up.
This is probably our shortest review ever.
It was a mixed bag for us, and then at the end, it just kind of was like
it just fizzled out, man.
It crashed and burned.
Yeah, but don't take our word for it. Go see it.
I'm Sam.
I'm Evan.
Thanks for watching the Horror Appraisal.